So now we're looking at question 5 from passage 1 of the English test. Question 5 reads, if the writer were to delete the phrase, while a large pot of water heated up on the stove, from the preceding sentence, placing a period after the word kitchen, the paragraph would primarily lose a phrase that. All right, so starting off, we should pretend like we're following their directions. So they tell us to place a period after the word kitchen. So let's put our pretend period after the word kitchen. So in questions like this, where they ask you what they say, what would be the primary loss? So if we're asked what the primary loss would be, we should reverse that and ask us, what do we gain from this phrase? So I'll highlight the phrase so it's very clear. We would be losing this one, so we want to ask ourselves, what does this phrase give us? So reading the paragraph with the phrase, we washed the tomatoes in the kitchen while a large pot of water heated up on the stove. When the water came to a boil, we dropped the tomatoes into the pot for exactly 1 minute, retrieved them, and then plunged them into ice water. Then it says, this double dunking loosened the skin so we could easily peel it away from the juicy red pulp. Great. So again, what do we gain? What do we gain from this phrase, while a large pot of water heated up on the stove? Well, without this phrase, we washed the tomatoes in the kitchen when the water came to a boil, it seems very disjointed. And it seems disjointed because we don't have a transition between washing the tomatoes and the water boiling. How did the water get there? There was no mention of it until it's boiling all of a sudden. And so we would lose this logical transition between washing, heating up the water, and the water boiling. That's a series of events, and without the middle series, it seems disjointed. And so looking at the answer choices, the one that most closely resembles what I just said is C, establishes a logical transition to the information in the remainder of the paragraph. C is most likely our correct answer. Let's read through the other answer choices just in case. So, answer choice A says, describes the duties specific to the narrator's role in canning tomatoes. Well, this isn't exactly a specific role for her. In fact, it doesn't say who did it. It just says while. And so there's no duties described here specifically attributed to the narrator. So that's an incorrect answer. B, indicate where the canning takes place and why water is needed in the process. Well, this paragraph does say why water is needed. It says to loosen the skin, but this phrase doesn't have anything to do with that. That explanation comes farther down in the paragraph, and so that's the incorrect answer as well. D says establishes that part of the canning process involved putting the tomatoes in water. Well, like I said for B, that happens later on in the paragraph as well, so it's not essential for that explanation. So we're left with C. Without this phrase, we would have a disjointed jump between events, washing the tomatoes and the water boiling. So C is our correct answer.